this is Art Viewing Adventures. Now I think in our sixth year. I'm Rodney Paul, and I'm joined by Ann Reinert, who is a fellow museum guide, and we both love the art of the artist that Ann is going to be talking about, who has a major exhibition in Paris right now. But Ann, welcome to Art Viewing Adventures.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. And now let me just go do one thing
You
here.
sharing your slides.
Sharing my slides. And where did they go? There we go.
We'll
Okay. And
get
there's
through this.
present. Look at this.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for. I can't see you. I'm just going to be doing my slides. So feel free, Rodney, to any
Yeah,
chats
I,
or
I will monitor chat and
monitor
also,
chats.
we're not a big group. If people want to unmute and say stuff, that's always welcome.
Good. Yeah, I like conversation about art. And this artist is, I don't know why I love him so much, but there was a retrospective at the Foundation Louis Vuitton of 270 works. And the truth is, after I got through it in Paris, I was like, I'm not sure if I really love Gerhard Richter as much as I thought I did. So doing this presentation has been a real gift because I do, turns out, love him. So I'm just going to talk for a minute about this structure because it in itself is worth traveling to Paris to see. Um, the original idea for creating this, it's a private foundation, and it's Bernard Arnault, who is the chairman and chief executive of LVMH, which is Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Hennessy. And my French socialist friends refuse to attend this museum because it's private money. He's worth like $280 billion. So when you do the calculation, this costs maybe 900 million. It's like nothing. So, as I said, my friends won't go, but I love it. And this is another view. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this top picture is the original sketch that when Frank Gehry sat down with Bernard Arnault to like think about the museum, and this is his original sketch, which to me, I don't know, it's like says something about creativity, right? Like how you go from that to some of these models. Sorry, that's another sketch. But this model down here is probably the closest. But the idea about architecture that's so interesting to me, and I can't wait to see the community college building because that looks like a phenomenal piece of architecture as well, is that it's not an individual effort. Architecture is such multidisciplinary thing. And for Geary's kind of architecture, you may know the Disney Hall in LA. I'm not sure, Rodney.
I love the Disney Hall in LA.
Yeah, do we have any Geary in San Francisco? I meant to look.
This is the Contemporary Jewish Museum, isn't that Frank Gehry?
Could be. I don't know. I'll have to look.
I'll double check. Of course,
Yeah.
he just
Hey.
died last
Yeah.
month.
This is just another sketch when you could see that it was getting closer. But when you go into this museum, my husband is like a facilities guy. He runs huge, like Genentech and Bristol Myers Squibb. He's responsible for all that structure and all the utilities and all that stuff. So when he goes to a place like that, Louis Vuitton Foundation, it's hard for him to even look at the art because how they put it together is just so phenomenal.
Oh, I got to correct myself. It's Daniel Liebeskind who did the Jewish
Okay,
Museum.
okay, thank you. Yeah, well, he did the New York Freedom Tower, which is now back to um, World Trade Center building number one. Now the new one, he did that as well. So okay, so this is Gerhard Richter. This is a picture. He's German. He was born, and it is important. Not really. You can just love the art, but what makes him so interesting to me is that he's one of the most thoughtful artists. And I have a bunch of quotes from him. I don't have any quotes from critics, and I don't have my opinion because he speaks about his art and his motivation for his art and his philosophy about his art. And I love that. I love just being able to listen to the artist. He was born in Germany, in East Germany, and lived there and was trained as a social realist, as a muralist. And then in 1961, he escaped to what was West Germany and completely changed his painting style. And we will see some examples of that. Um, but what I love is look how clean his space is. So he wasn't a dramatic, he's not a dramatic guy. He's still alive. He'll be 94 in February. Um, he's not a dramatic artist. He's not a show off. He's this quiet. He said, art is my profession. It's my job. And I go to the studio every day, whether I'm actually painting or not. And I think this picture really captures that neatness and um, sort of control of his medium.
So he's not Jackson Pollock, in other
He is
words.
not Jackson. He is not throwing paint around. The next couple paintings I wrote down, let me find this piece of paper that tells you the size. So the next couple paintings are what we have in San Francisco. And this was my introduction to Gerhard Richter. So this is called Seascape. And he painted this in 1998. It's 114 by 114 inches. It's from a photograph. And it's a little blurry because that's what he does. It's not just my my picture. He blurred things. Um, and he also, and I'd be really curious if you have any thoughts about this, because I really struggled with this. He takes a photograph and he doesn't draw necessarily the photograph. He will project the photograph on a canvas and paint either directly over the projection or sort of sketch it out. So this isn't even, it's a photo, it's a painting of a photograph
Hmm.
that he, and for a long time I went, huh, that's so interesting to me that's okay to do and still be considered a great artist. And then you look at his painting, like just look at the quality of his painting, and it's like, oh, I see maybe why. Because you can see all those colors. And I don't think any photograph could get this mood and the blurring and the what it creates, the feeling in me anyway that it creates.
Maybe it makes us think of these images in a new way.
In what way would that be?
That, it's not the absolute reality that a photograph gives us, that it makes it a little more dreamy
Yeah,
and maybe makes us think about our mental relationship with the space.
yeah. I let me see if yeah, no, I don't I'm not
Oh, we have a question here.
okay,
Are
good.
the white and black shapes behind the seascape painting part of the piece of art too?
No, no, I just
That like
I'm not a computer tech like Rodney, so I had some difficulty getting these images. Most of them are straight image, but that's what my PowerPoint wanted to do with this picture.
okay.
So when you walk into a room, I just, for those of you who haven't seen this, these paintings, if you've never seen Gerhard Richter, just keep in mind these are all by what I'm about to show you are all by the same artist because it's
Okay.
just stunning to me. So the next one is this, and these are called. This is Paint, 256 colors. And because art historians like when we do this 87 by 163 inches, it's huge. It's a wall size. So 163 inches is more than 12 feet.
can I make a comment about this piece?
Yes, please do.
If you look at it, if you just kind of look at it, you'll start to imagine little dots in the corners where the white lines are.
Mm.
You'll start to see little dark dots, and they kind of blink. And let me just ask, I mean, am I the, unless it's just me hallucinating. I am a Haight-Ashbury tour guide, but I don't think that's not what's doing it. I've had
Yeah.
other people do you have that sense
Yeah,
also?
no, and you can see it throughout, actually, now that you've pointed that out. I'm not sure, though, Rodney, if it's the photograph or it's in the painting. I'll have to go back
Because
and look.
I mean, I definitely get that experience in the gallery. I don't know
Yeah.
if that was his intention, but it's something our eyes do that's just fascinating to me.
So um, this is just another like insight into this interesting man's brain. He did a bunch of these series between 1974 and 1984. And some of this is like he picked, these are all professional, not professional, but these paint colors are like paint chips. So they're available for you to go buy. And he did. And then he used a computer to generate their placement randomly. And that's the story with these paintings. That's just how he did it. So one, he didn't paint them, and two, it's random and it's computer generated. And I love it anyway. I mean, that's what's so fun of like, huh, this is art. This is art. He's an
But
artist.
like,
Um, but
it makes
not
me
how,
wonder,
go ahead.
Ian, would you call this, is it minimalist in a way, or like what is
I
there a
don't know.
category we would put it in?
I don't know. I read a quote somewhere and I'm not going to be able to dig it up for the painting, but in some way, this was his reaction to like Saul LeWitt.
Mhm.
And he didn't like that. He didn't like what they were doing. And so it's almost a reaction to that, which is kind of, yeah, interesting. Other ways to look at color. Minimalist for sure, in that there's no object. I do you have any emotion?
No, definitely no, does not give me emotion.
Right.
But I do find it's just a very pleasing image to look at, and I'm not sure why.
Exactly. I have a lovely photograph which I intentionally didn't use because I wanted people to see the whole thing of people of a couple sitting looking in front of it that humanizes it in a way because it's such a big piece of work and humans are small to it.
So Bernice's comment is it's like conceptual art,
Mm.
which is funny because that's what he's actually reacting to. Bernice, do you want to unmute and tell us a little more about like your thoughts, like the connection between this and conceptual art?
Okay, let me just disclose up front. I personally like Richter's work. So let me just disclose that up front. Let me stipulate to that up front. It's like you were mentioning, this is the idea, right? He's not he's taking a pre-made item, right? These are paint chips, so he probably didn't make those. And he's using the computer to do that. And he has just the idea. So to me, that's very much conceptual art versus I mean, it's like Saul LeWitt, right? Where he has the ideas. He's not necessarily doing it with his hand,
Right.
in the case of Saul LeWitt, but to me that's very much like this,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I've never thought about before, so thank you.
Right. Well, I uh this is kind of an aside, but one of the fascinating things to me about art history at all is the how do artists continue to be artists given what's available technologically? And I think this is a great example of how they do that. you know, like they think, they conceive of ideas, and then produce something like this. It's fascinating. The other reason this for me resonates is Rodney and I both have a friend, Lisa Lightman, who's an artist and also a guide, and she uses paint chips as her background, and then like goes off of that. And I don't know whether she's been inspired by this, but but the idea of just being so drawn to the color, the pure color that's available. So,
Yeah. Gail makes a comment, it's very structured, which for my anal mind is very comforting.
oh, nice.
Yeah, this is not a disturbing image.
Yeah. No, we are going to see some disturbing images. Fair warning. They're not sexual, but they will be disturbing because he's very much aware of history and ideology, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But meanwhile, this is just to show you the variety. So this is one of his squeegee abstract pictures. This one was in 1984 and 98 by 98 inches. It's huge. I don't have a video, but if you're interested in his work, you can find a bazillion things on YouTube of how he does this. And basically what he does is put paint on canvas and then uses a squeegee and moves the paint around. And he can do that in layers. He doesn't necessarily have an image in mind. He believes very much in chance. And one of his paintings, which I have later on, one of these squeegee paintings sold for $48 million, his most expensive work, but very much in this style. Does anybody have a reaction to this of any kind? I'm just curious. Like, even I like it, I don't like it.
Well, I think it's an image you can look at for time. You can spend time really looking at this. First of all, it's layered, which I find really interesting. And then your mind maybe starts, it's abstract, but your mind might start thinking about, could this be something from nature? Does it have a connection to the real world? So I find them real objects of fascination. We would love to hear from others in the audience if you have a reaction to this.
I am not trying to keep anybody, but I'm really happy, not happy to say, but really honest to say that I find them very hard to enter. To They don't emotionally move me, and that's very often how I respond to art. And you'll, as you will see. But when I was in Louis Vuitton, there were a bunch of these. And fortunately, I was friends with friends, and that gets back to why I think the guide program is so important. And I said to her, I'm not sure how I feel about something that's chance, that's so chance. And she said, he's done so many of these that he's got to have an idea about how to structure them and how they will turn out and what the layers will reveal. And I don't know whether that's true, but it opened my eyes and my mind to looking at them in a different way. And the longer I'm looking at this right now, the more I'm seeing and liking it. So thanks, Rodney.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at one, you recognize it. And I've seen others, and I'm like, well, that's clearly a Gerhard Richter. So
Right.
there's something to that. Gail has a comment. I like it, which is odd, as I generally do not like contemporary/modern art.
Hmm.
So interesting that she finds this an agreeable image, despite generally not going for
Yeah.
other things in this realm.
Yeah. He's
And
endlessly fascinating to me.
Roger says it makes him think of a rainforest.
Yeah, and I can see that now. Like said, when Rodney said nature, and then I started to look some more, and then rainforest and the richness of it.
And then Sarah notes you can see the texture, which really adds to the viewing experience.
Hmm.
And then Paco says it looks like nature, like something from nature. I think that's a great observation, Paco.
Yeah. And Bernice has raised a hand.
I do, and so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry to ask this question, but I just have to ask, would it make a difference? You said you find it difficult to relate or to really enjoy these paintings. Would it make a difference if it was different colors instead of the green, would it make a difference? I can't see what color top you're wearing, so I'm just going to say, would it make a difference if the color instead of green was the color of your top?
That's
And
so
I'm going to assume your top is not green, so if it is, you got to pick a
yeah,
different color.
no, it's funny. There's a lot of the blue in this, and my top is blue, and it has little speckles of color. So, um, I can't answer that.
Okay.
There are some that I can tell you I don't like because of the color. This one is not
Hmm.
one of those. And I didn't include the ones I don't, that really are harsh to me. I don't think I have
That's fair.
those. But good, excellent question. And it is kind of interesting what we respond to. That's all.
Oh, we're getting some more comments I want to read. Gail says the left side is mostly red, bang. The right side is mostly green and cooling. A bit of yin and yang. When the
Ah,
red gets to be too much, you have the green to alleviate the shock of the red.
hmm,
Interesting.
very nice.
And then Valerie says the colors remind me immediately of Hans Hofmann's paintings. Hans
Hmm,
Hofmann, I believe another German, right?
I'm going to write the name down.
It's funny, I've seen Hans Hofmann's work, but the work I recall is quite different.
Okay, I'll look
I,
it
I,
up.
I think he did yeah, German American. He did something completely different from all this that is what I remember of him. But one of the things you can say about Gerhard Richter, he has a lot of range,
Yeah, well, we're
does a lot of different things, as you're showing us.
right,
That would be true of Hans Hofmann too, I
right.
believe.
And that's, I'm going to move to the next one. And this is one of ours. This is at the SF MoMA. And there's a lot, this was in 1982. And so one of the interesting things, I'll just say it because it was hard. I didn't organize the talk this way. But when you went to this exhibit, 270 works, and it was divided by decade because there's no way you can divide it any other way because every single decade he did all of this, right? Like he didn't, oh, I'm going to do the squeegee aspect was in 1984. The two candles were in 1982, and you look at the difference in style. It's just so lovely to me. And I'm going to just tell you this story that this is in the Fisher collection. So to find out how many Richter SF MoMA has is tricky because it's not clear whether we don't really own the Fisher collection, and they have an extensive collection, but MoMA also has its own, and that's the next one I think. This is the Fisher collection. It belongs to the Fishers. And the story about this painting, and it was, let's see, how big is this? 48 by 40 inches. So 3.5 by 4 feet. The story is, and I don't know whether it's true, but Doris Fisher used to have space in each of their homes for this painting. They had a home up in Napa. They have a home in Palo Alto. I think they had an apartment in San Francisco. And she loved this so painting that it traveled. And for me, the idea of a, multi-million dollar Richter painting in the back of a car adds to the charm of it. I don't know whether it's a true story, but I think it might be.
I think we have a question. Are the candles painted from a photograph like the
Yep,
seascape painting?
yep. That's how he works. And the other interesting thing about him, I mean, he's just endlessly fascinating. The other interesting thing is he doesn't take the photographs. He finds the photographs. He's not even composing the image. That's not what he's interested in. He's interested in the paint. He's interested in painting. And so there you go, you know. He I'll show you one. We're going to get to like what's considered his first he considered it his first painting when he moved to West Germany. I'm going to show it to you in a minute, and it is from a Italian design magazine. So this is, I call this my gateway drug to Gerhard Richter. This is called the Reader or Lisande. It's 28 by 40 inches, and it was painted in 1994. And this is his wife, and it's a photograph, and she's reading the paper. And I really cannot even address it as a piece of art. Maybe Rodney can, and Bernice, I'm so happy you're on as well. I just simply love it. And I love the shadows. I love the ponytail. I love her face. Um, and I love the warmth of it. And so it is, I have a totally emotional response to this. No, there's no intellectual approach for me at all in this. So I'd like to know if anybody else has a similar approach or just like, oh my God, realism. Ugh.
Well, Gail makes a great comment. Girl with a gold earring.
Oh,
So there's definitely like some real knowing references to art history, I
right.
think,
To
with this.
Vermeer for sure. That's an excellent, excellent observation. Yeah. And when I was touring this, thank you for reminding me of this, because you know when I prepared for the tour, um, I definitely had more to say intellectually, and now it's just like, oh, this is such a great painting. So those, the reason I chose these is so that you can see his range. I mean, and he obviously can just do pretty much whatever he wants with a paintbrush or a squeegee. So now I'm going to show you this. So this is called the desk, or TISCH in German, is 24 by 32 inches, and it was painted in 1962. And Gerhard Richter calls this his first painting. He had been painting in East Germany. He'd been doing these big murals in East Germany, which are impossible to find. And and then he came here and he said, this is my first painting. And I blurred it because there was too much paint on the canvas. And this is like one of his really iconic pieces. Um, so he says about gray, I just want to find this. I came up, the gray is certainly inspired by photo paintings. I think gray is an important color, the ideal color for indifference, fence sitting, keeping quiet, despair. In other words, for states of being and situations that affect one and for which one would like to find a visual expression. So that's a lot of words. It's a big quote, but then we go to this. And these,
Oh, just want to read a comment. Sarah says about the last one, it's hard to love this one.
yes, I do
Good,
that on purpose.
good point. I think that there's a context to it, which is he's left East Germany where he was very limited in what he could do, and then he's in West Germany. He's given total freedom. He does that.
Right. So one of the interesting things about there's much, but one of the interesting things about Gerhard Richter is that, as I said earlier, he does talk about his work. He makes no bones about his philosophy. And this, so this and the next one are family paintings, and they're a very famous oeuvre of his. But this was his aunt. Gerhard Richter was born in 1932. His, during the war, his father was captured by the Allies and spent most of the war in prison camps. His uncle Rudy, which is will be the next one, was killed. Both his uncles were killed in World War II, and this was his aunt who he adored. This is Gerhard Richter as a baby, and his aunt, was um, starved to death in a mental institution by the Nazis. Even though she was German, she had a mental illness, and was starved to death. So this is Gerhard Richter's growing up experience of the world. His father's in prison and comes back basically a shell of a man. So those are the Allies. They bombed, he saw the bombing of Dresden from his hometown, which was miles away, but you could see it burn. But he also knows what the Nazis did. So I'm going to turn this off. Um, and so among his first paintings are these these gray images of quiet despair, the states of being and situations that affect one, and for would one like to find a visual expression. There are no words for the experience, and he tried to do that in these paintings.
We have a question from Sarah, probably about both of these paintings. Does he drag a soft, dry brush across these paintings to get the blurred effect?
Yes, that's exactly what he does. Very good. And he talks about blurring, and the reason he blurs is he says it focuses concentration. You have to really look. You can't just walk by and dismiss it, right? It forces attention to the painting.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that like that our engagement with it is different because it's blurred.
Right, right. And mm, these just, I think because, and one of the reasons I was interested in this, doing this and with this audience is many of us, if we were not born in 1932, but our parents were. And sometimes I think the reason Gerhard Richter speaks to me so much is that I am the generation that in fourth grade saw those movies about Buchenwald and Auschwitz, and that was very much part, it's very much part of my DNA of what's possible in politics. And he, because of his upbringing, is like, I'm going to paint. I'm not, no ideology. But then, this is, I'm going to find this
Oh, I
again.
want to read one comment Sarah said about the painting with the infant that the infant almost appears to know what's going to happen to its aunt.
Uh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's
It's kind of chilling, like knowing that these are from that war period.
right, right. These
Like
are him.
knowing that background changes how we think about them.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, Rodney, and one that, we can talk about forever. Is there are many of these modern art museums, privately owned art museums, and the DeMille collection in Houston is the best example that I know of, where they refuse to put anything on the wall because they say you should just respond to the art. And I have a strong opinion about that, which is that we all these are people who say that who've been looking at art and collecting at art forever, so they already know what they're looking at, right? And they like it or they
Mhm.
don't, or they respond to it or they don't. And I think especially in Richter the context provides so much information. For instance, this painting. So this is another black and white painting, and this was in response to, I don't know if you all remember the Red Brigade in Germany, but they were in the early 70s, and they were a radical revolutionary group in Germany. And this one, Germany was still divided. And this was in West Germany, but they were revolutionary. And they were violent and they were arrested. And he, again, he's always grappling with, um, he has no faith in the state. He has no faith in ideology. And this was another example where they merged, where on the one hand, the Red Brigade had ideology, and on the other hand, the state ended up basically murdering them. So he grappled with this for years and he didn't want to paint them. But then finally, he was like, I finally had to go back to the very pictures I had actually wanted to avoid, which summed up the various stories. So he's very articulate about what he's doing. I'm not making up anything here. you know, he this is a person who had beliefs and ideological beliefs, and then this is what the state did. They murdered, they were in prison for 5 years, and they say they committed suicide, but all three of them were killed or died at the same time. So neither side comes out. And again, these are photo paintings of his. Um, and there's one more set of disturbing ones that is now, and then we're going to look at all beauties. So this is called Eight Nurses. And I talked to Rodney a little bit about this before. This was based on 1978 photos, but the painting was created in 1988. And these, I don't know whether you remember this either, but these were Chicago nursing students. And there were nine nurses in nursing housing, and eight of them were murdered by one guy. And what he says about, when you see these are individual paintings based on the yearbook picture, but this is the only way I could show it. It's the best way to sort of see them in one image. And again, it's sort of like he talks about, because his experience in Germany, like what's her name? Hannah Arendt uses that expression, the banality of evil. And he's like, no, it's not banal. Evil is not banal. It took these young women's lives, and I don't want to forget that. And for me, this is one of these events I remember that was life changing as a woman. Um, in the 70s was feminism, and we were just allowed to have credit cards in our own name if we were married in 1972, if you remember that. So women's power was a big issue at the time. And I remember being so disappointed that eight women could be murdered by one man in one building and nobody fought back. So this is, for me, very, very powerful work, and speaks to the idea that art is beautiful, but art, especially now, I think we really have to appreciate its power. It's what's saving my life right now, as I try to figure out how to navigate a very difficult time. Art speaks to that, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of what people start producing now.
Well, and art also makes authoritarian regimes very uncomfortable. It's
Insane.
a form of communication that they can't control.
Right?
We have a question from Gail. She
Yeah.
says, his mural background must have informed the large canvases he would do later on. So do you think
Yeah.
there's a connection?
Gail, I think that's a really good point. And I also think, I didn't know this. This is something I learned when I started being a guide. So I don't want you to think being a smarty pants. But apparently, one of the definitions of a modern art is big canvas, also. So he got used to doing big work. And it's also like what modern artists do. And he is a modern artist. So,
I'm trying to think. There's not like, yeah, no, there's no really small Jackson Pollocks or
right.
Ellsworth Kellys now, are there?
Okay, so this is the last disturbing set of pictures, and then we'll have time and just do the pretty ones. So this, um, his most significant series, he would say, are four paintings, and I only have one. I'm only going to show you one, but they're called Birkenau, and they're based on four paintings that were snuck out of the prison camp, and here you can see that they're burning bodies.
Is it
And
a painting or a photograph that
this
it,
is a photograph. So
yeah.
this is what his series are based on. There were four photographs, and as he does, he projected them on, there were four canvases and there were four works, and he projected each one individually and then painted them. And this is one of them. And when he shows the work, he lines up. I was fortunate to see them in Berlin, and I did not see them in Louis Vuitton, but they were there. But the way he shows them is there are these four huge canvases, and across the wall is a mirror, so you are not escaping this work. And then he tacks up the four photographs that they were based on, sort of in the corner. Um, so it's quite an experience. And this is really him confronting. And this is the work. This is one of four. It's the first of the series. And they're all similar. They all have some green and some red and some gray. And again, he started by painting the images. And then he worked with the image. And these are huge. These are I don't have how can I not have I don't have the measurements, but I would say they're
Oh, I think I found it. It's 100 inches by 79 inches is what
Thank
I'm
you.
reading.
Yeah, thank you very much. They are, it's quite an experience. I have to say, it's like uh, art. Yeah, it's art as an experience of history, how much his experience has influenced his work. And like I said, obviously, we're going to see some lovely landscapes and some beautiful paintings. But he is a real witness to our time, like my parents' time. My dad, I think, would have been 100 if he were still alive. So, um,
Oh, I want to read Bernice's question. She says the painting of the scene is under the squeegeed paint.
yes, yes, he started the way he starts in this example, where not all the squeegee paintings are this way, but this way he projected and then sort of worked with it. He said this is these were done in 2014. He's given them to the state of Germany. They're building a contemporary art museum that's he's going to donate 150 of his works. But he said this is my final word on the Holocaust. These four
Hmm.
paintings. This is my. He's done grappling with it. Basically, is what he said. And he stopped painting. We'll see his last painting. He stopped painting in 2017. Um, but it's so moving. I have to
Well,
say, it's
I
hard
want
to
to make
describe.
I want to make a comment just
Yes,
that there was this period after World War II where Germans did not talk about the Holocaust, and it was considered something that was not to be discussed at all.
right,
And Gerhard Richter and Anselm Kiefer and a number of other artists were really among an early group of people in German culture who said no, we must talk about this.
right. And I'm glad you brought up Anselm Kiefer because, as you all may know or may not know, again, the Fisher collection in our museum has a really fantastic bunch of Anselm Kiefer. And I went to see Anselm Kiefer in St. Louis. I had a big art fall and early winter. And what's interesting about Anselm Kiefer too is his paintings. You feel like you're walking into the gas chambers with some of his paintings, or there's the airplane. He is so not subtle, and they can be very heavy and very painful. But what was and in response to Gerhard Richter saying, "I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore," the new Anselm Kiefer, and he forced Germans to consider their past. He did performance art and everything. But the new Anselm Kiefer paintings are very light and lovely. And I just think maybe it was like, okay, I can celebrate all of the parts of life that are wonderful too. I think the Holocaust is a huge, heavy, impossible cloak that you maybe don't take off, but it doesn't mean you can't look up and also see the light and the beauty of the world. And certainly, certainly Gerhard Richter has done that, can do that. But it was lovely to see Anselm Kiefer be able to do it because his stuff can be overwhelming, just overwhelming in
Yeah.
its intensity. Okay, so some of the beauty. So this was done in 1969. It's 47 by 59 inches. And I'm sorry it's a little off because it is a photograph that I took in the museum. This is just from a photograph, he thought that's it. He saw this photograph and he thought it was beautiful and he painted it. Again, there's a little bit, it, this is how it looks. So it's not me hazing it or smearing it or it's a bad image. This is how it looks. And um, this is another one. I just love this. And what he did in some of them, and I don't actually have one, but what he would do in some of them, like he might really like the ocean, and he might really in one photograph, and he liked the sky in the other, and he would just cut them and paste them, and that would be his painting. Like he didn't have any big story, dogma. He painted, when he was painting these, he was painting beautiful pictures because that's what he did for a living.
Mhm.
And now, what to me are, for people who like art, I'm going to show you the series that he did, and then I think then we're pretty much done. Um, so this is the Annunciation by Titian, and it's in Venice. And in 1972, Gerhard Richter was invited to represent Germany in the Venice Biennale, which is a huge art show every other year. And in that, he painted 48 portraits of famous white men. And that's basically, and he called it that as well. I'm not showing you those, but when he was in Venice, he went into this. Apparently, this is just some little church in Venice, which I will now have to find, and bought a postcard of the Annunciation by Titian. And so this was painted in 19, or sorry, 15, something like 1560 or something. And he took that home and then he started to work on it. So in at the foundation in one room were these paintings. This is Gerhard Richter's first approach to it. Mary and Gabriel, and then he did this, and then he did this, and then he did that.
Wow.
And I just think this is one of the most interesting things. Look at the detail of these. Do you think this was a squeegee when he did this? I don't know how he got these. This was clearly just a paintbrush, not a squeegee, and this was paintbrush. But and this, when you look at this up close, you can't really even see brushstrokes. So he had such fine control over his medium. So I think this is just fascinating. Um, this, he only painted 3 self-portraits in his life. Um, Again, he looked at himself not really tongue in cheek, but this was his job. He did not, he does not think of himself as artiste, not full of self-importance. This to me is lovely in that it speaks to me of memory. And I don't know if anybody else has any other kind of reaction to this, but um, sort of all that we carry with us um, as we move through the world.
Comment from Gail,
Yeah.
just generally, I like the exhibition, that the exhibition includes the actual Holocaust photos together with his interpretations of the photos. Super powerful.
Oh,
Viewing his paintings, I feel at a different emotional plane than viewing the photo. Super real, not detached, very deep.
hmm.
And yeah, I do think like there's these things, these blurred photo, these very blurred paintings, there is something emotional about them.
Incredibly, I think. You know, um,
Even the candles, right?
oh, well, as I said, for me personally, which is kind of all I can do. I took a art history class with this guy Nemerov, Alexander Nemerov, who's a professor at Stanford and Yale, and quite quite an interesting character, very published, very famous, very well known. And he refuses to talk about art in any way but human response to it. So people who took the class, art history, and they want the year, the date, the size, the medium, how he did it, he's like, that's not what art is about. Art is about how we respond, And so somebody's comment here about the girl in the gold earring. I
Mhm.
love that because it doesn't negate the fact that there's a huge history to art and we respond based on what we know, but we're also responding to that girl in the pearl earring, that Vermeer painting is it's a knockout emotionally as well. And so whether I'm responding to that reader as bringing all of that with me, I don't know, but this painting to me so captures that idea of we're bringing it all with us. You know, the influential people in our life. You can see these ghosts, you know, who knows? But I think that even though it's just an object of two candles, I think there's profound emotional um, uh, substance to Richter's work. Or frankly, I wouldn't like it. You know, like wouldn't me personally. And this is another one. This is just captures um, these are actually different artists. So Gerhard Richter's here. I think one of these is a German boys who was an influence on him for a while. There were a couple, and I don't have all their
Oh,
names.
the artist voice.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he, you know, this is who we are. We are the creature, the result of all of our experiences and memories. Um, and then this, of course, I is one of the knockout paintings. This is his daughter. This is Betty, and it's based on a 1978 photo that he painted in 1988. It's 40 by 28 inches, and I again, this is one when you see up close, you really can't see any brush strokes, and he painted it. This is a painting. Um, just magnificent in her little fleece PJs. I just feel like there's so much love in this, but that's me. This I just included because I think it just, again, back to like, oh, he can do anything, can he? This is called Deer Hirsch. It's huge. The same time, this is 1963. So the same time he's doing his Aunt Marianne and Uncle Rudy and the table that he blurred, he's also doing this. Pretty cool drawing, again, based on a photo. And then finally, this is the painting that sold for $48 million. I thought you would be interested just in seeing that. Um, one of his squeegee paintings. And I'm going to look at this for a second. I have a nice close up, and I see we're running out of time. I'll just show you so you can really see the amount of texture and the many, many layers. Do you think this is, do you think this started as a photograph and a painting,
Does
maybe?
seem like, yeah, it seems
Yeah,
like you're seeing
I didn't
something
notice
staring.
that. That's so great.
Yeah.
Like maybe this was a sea painting at one point in the sky. I don't know, but and when you, it's fun to watch the videos because he does put down some canvas on the floor, but you know, he's just wearing his, he could be wearing a suit and tie. Um, and then this is what he considers his last painting.
Hmm.
This was in 2017. And it's just like, I'm done. So he was born in 1932, 3,
So 85 years old. He's
88. Yeah, anyway. Um, and maybe, I don't know why. He really just done. You know, like many, many authors lately, I'm finding stop writing when they were 80, like,
like Philip Roth.
huh?
Philip Roth
Philip
had a
Roth,
hard stop.
Julian Barnes just published his last at 80, Alice Munro, short
Yeah.
stories at 80. So I don't, Gerhardt made it to 85 or 6, but this was his last. And then just what he is still doing is drawing. And I just said I would include this
Oh, so
one.
he's still working. He's just not
He's
painting.
2024, October
Thank
7th,
goodness.
still goes to the studio and plays with watercolor and ink and paint. And so there was one small room of just lovely images of his drawing. I only took this one picture, but and I haven't seen them online yet. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but um,
We've got a couple
Oh,
comments I want to read. Gail says, seeing his works in person must be something! Exclamation point.
yeah.
I just realized one of his pieces would take up the entire bedroom wall. Yikes. Yeah, you have to build like a special
Yeah.
dwelling if you're going to live with these things. And then she notes, she says, very Monet-esque about like the colors. I think she's referring to maybe
Oh,
one of
that
those
last one,
painting
maybe.
paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And again, and I like to think, I mean, I'm a romantic, I
yeah.
guess. So I like to think that there's always kind of a happy ending for people. And, but I do think there's something about aging because I think a lot about aging and I've taken a lot of classes on it. And
I'm actually doing it, believe it or
yeah,
not.
right. I am aging. But the idea that you could maybe end up on the sort of happy, joyful side of old age is, um, I like to think, and this painting reflects that to me. So that's a great point. That lightness of it. And like I said, I really noticed in them with the Anselm Kiefer because whether we lived through World War II or not, we have lived and are living through really, really difficult times. It's what's being human. If you've raised children, if you've anything, if you've had an illness, really, really challenging. But if you can get to like late 70s and 80s and also be able to see, yeah, all that's true. And look at this beauty. And I think that's how I like to think about this painting. It's certainly is,
Gives us hope.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Well, Anne, this has been great. Really, really appreciated it. And let me ask you, how does it make you, you'd already seen Richter's work at
Yeah,
SF MoMA over the years.
right.
How do you think differently about him after seeing this exhibition?
Well, before I answer that question, I'm gonna say this. I started it with saying how my French socialist friends refused to go because of the wealth of the Louis Vuitton Foundation. And I am thrilled that they're using that money to be able to show the world work like this and of such, I think, an important man of the 20th century. I mean, as a human, his sensibility, I think, is one that we need to attend to. So I was very comfortable there, and as Gail I think said, you need huge walls to be able to see this. You need a museum built to show contemporary art. So it was wonderful to be there,
Yeah,
and as I said, it was almost overwhelming to see this many pieces of work. Um, I I should have gone and come and gone and come rather than do it all in one day. And putting this presentation together gave him back to me. So I really appreciate the opportunity. It was like I was able to sit and pause and really think about it and consider him again, which when you're, looking at so much art with friends, it was hard to do. So this was a wonderful
oh, well,
opportunity
we're
to
so glad you did, Anne, and I completely agree that that's what it's all. We love being able to just like put these things together and think about how we think about these artists. And you've done a marvelous job of that with Gerhard Richter.
well,
We
thank
have some
you.
very nice comments in chat. Gail says, thank you. And my first exposure to this artist, who, and you'll be glad to hear, I too love. It's weird because his style is so not me.
Yeah,
The
right.
youth converted Gail. Sarah says, a wonderful program. I learned so much. Paco says, it's very imaginative. And Gail says, but not for patrons of the arts. Would there be artists or at least artists we could enjoy?
Right.
So yeah, we do have to appreciate the people who collect these things. Um, you
I
know,
Can I just say one thing to that? So one of the quotes for Richter throughout, he says, "We're all painters and we're all artists. And why do we stop? All humans forever have painted and created art, and all kids do.
yeah,
Why do we stop?"
yeah.
And
I feel the same way about music. That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're all musical.
Right.
We all have our own built-in musical instrument, our
Yeah,
singing voice, and
yeah.
we should use it. Let me turn it back to speaking of music. I know we are going to have a music program tonight at 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Boomer music.
right.
Um, Nikki, tell us more about what's coming up on Community Living Campaign.
Okay, so tonight our music presentation with Richie is going to be vintage British rock meets vintage British comedy. So that'll be a treat. Yeah, and Paco, you can report back on that to us next time. And the next
Yes,
time we're meeting
Nikki.
with Rodney will be February 9th, right? February 9th. And what's that program going to be again, Rodney?
Benet and more so. And Anne is going to be back. Yay!
All right.
Yes, I would love to have you back.
Oh, thank you so
I know
much.
this is sort of like this is your place too, Paco. Paco's the person who is, aside from Nikki and Jennifer, attended the most of these.
Oh yeah, he
And
needs
also Richie's.
And
yeah.
also Richie's, that's true.
Yeah, you need to get a CLC trophy for being, with the most high attendance of anybody.
Yeah, I really love the comments, I have to say. I mean, uh, well, interested, articulate group for sure. I really enjoyed the back and forth and the insights you all had.
Oh yeah, it was fun today. And I love seeing the pictures of those 1960 graduates, those women, the
Oh,
young.
yeah.
That was my sister's era, so it was nice to see that. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Everyone be well.
See you
Yes,
next time. Be well.
indeed.
Okay, go in peace.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And thank you, Jennifer. As always, really appreciate your technical moderation.
Ditto, ditto.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. See you tonight, Rodney.
See you
Hasta
tonight.
luego.
And Roger, see you tonight.
Yeah, bye.